History is a constant. What happened is what happened. But our perceptions of the past can change. Sometimes this is the result of new information coming out. Some artifact is unearthed or a document is declassified, and we historians have to reevaluate our perceptions of the past in light of this new information. Sometimes this new information can radically alter our views of the past, and other times it just reinforces the views we already have. But this isn't the only thing that can change our perceptions, especially within popular discourse. The current state of politics, more often than information, is what drives changes in our perceptions of the past. And this is to be expected. Politics moves faster than the discovery or declassification of new information. As of filming this, I am in my early 30s. I'm not ancient, but I'm old enough to recognize changes to the culture that have happened in the last 30 years, and in particular, how our perceptions of the past have changed in that past 30 years. So, I want to take you on a little journey in how our current state of politics changes our perceptions of the past. And just to make this video more clickable, let's make it about US presidents. Let's start with Abraham Lincoln. When it comes to the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, I've seen three distinct phases during my lifetime. Prior to 9/11, to call Lincoln's legacy or character into question was tantamount to calling yourself a Klansman. After all, Lincoln's legacy is inextricably tied to the abolition of slavery, which meant to oppose Lincoln was to call yourself pro-slavery and therefore a racist. But 9/11 saw his legacy get called into question. George W. Bush winning the 2000 election without the popular vote led to many seeing him as an illegitimate president, and it fed into every conspiracy theory around his presidency, including those about 9/11 and the Iraq War. The War on Terror resulted in the passage of the Patriot Act, and if you grew up or came of age in the Bush years, you will remember how this law became an obsession with the political left, even though most Democrats voted for it every time it came up for renewal. The politics of the Bush years wouldn't stay confined to the studies of the Bush administration, but it would spill out into the past, including that of Abraham Lincoln. At this time, we saw a renewed focus on Lincoln's suspension of habeas corpus during the Civil War, and it was always brought up in relation to the Patriot Act and Guantanamo Bay Prison. You had some tying conspiracy theories about Bush stealing the 2000 election to the practice of having soldiers who were known to vote Democrat denied leave on Election Day during the Civil War. You also had a revival of some lost cause talking points, such as claiming the Civil War wasn't about slavery, just as the War on Terror wasn't about fighting terrorism. However, most of these arguments were entirely partisan, and you could tell that because as soon as Bush was out of office, most of these arguments were dropped, which begins sort of the third phase of Lincoln in my lifetime, which is that of him and his renewed reputation. This was due in large part to the election of Barack Obama. The election of America's first black president was seen as a major milestone, and it began a trend of re-examining the past through the lens of race, just as 9/11 had begun a trend of reevaluating the past through the lens of war and civil liberties. But this new race-centric lens has had a mixed effect on Lincoln. On the one hand, people are willing to overlook his violations of civil liberties due to his efforts to abolish slavery, but there were other races he could be examined through, and thus a new obsession with his policy towards American Indians has been born. Ulysses S. Grant has had a similar transformation. He was viewed in a mostly negative light, but had been trending upward for a couple decades. But the election of Obama and the national refocus on race has been to Grant's benefit. Not only did Grant fight against literal slave owners, but he also fought what some have called the first war on terror against the Klan. On top of politics helping boost his and Lincoln's legacies, the 2010s saw the 150-year anniversaries of the Civil War. So we had 6 years of bookstores having an abundance of new books about the Civil War and Reconstruction. Another figure who has seen a radical transformation in terms of their popular perception is Woodrow Wilson, and he was hit with the triple whammy of 9/11, Barack Obama, and the World War I centennials. My earliest memories of Woodrow Wilson come from the Bush years. Due to the Iraq War, Bush was labeled and portrayed as a unilateralist who acted without consulting the international community. This wasn't true, but why let facts get in the way of a useful narrative? This was always contrasted with Wilson's portrayal as an internationalist. Not only was Wilson the first president to get the US directly involved in a European war, but he did so in a big alliance and was part of a big peace conference where the great powers sat down and negotiated rather than asserting their will through the force of arms. This narrative also doesn't comport with reality, but when it comes to political narratives, perceptions matter more. Wilson was usually viewed through the realm of international relations and foreign policy, and his advocacy for the League of Nations had given him a positive reputation among progressives, who also loved the United Nations. In this light, Wilson was usually portrayed as a tragic figure ahead of his time. If only America had joined and fully supported the League of Nations, we could have avoided World War II, just as America could have avoided the Iraq War had we listened to the wisdom of the international community. But Wilson's reputation would begin to be reevaluated through the lens of race after Barack Obama was elected, and this was given a further boost due to the World War I centennials. We began to see more focus on his domestic policies, with the story about him premiering Birth of a Nation at the White House becoming emblematic of his presidency. Now, this information has been around for a long time. If you ever watched the original President's documentary series from the History Channel back in 2005, they mentioned this fact with Woodrow Wilson, but it just never got the attention it deserved because progressives had been obsessed with criticizing American foreign policy since the 1960s. And as I've mentioned in a previous video, Wilson is an equal opportunity punching bag, so you don't have just progressives criticizing him, but conservatives and libertarians as well. The last president I want to talk about is Lyndon Johnson, but before that, I want to take a look at this video's sponsor, Workona. Now, I was able to write this video based mostly on my own personal life experiences, but usually historiographic research like this requires a bit more research, which is why I want to talk to you about this video's sponsor, Workona. Whenever I get an idea for a video, I like to scour the Internet Archive, JSTOR, Foreign Affairs, and Wikipedia for books, articles, and footage relevant to that topic. All of these sites have their own mechanisms for managing items you want to look at again later, but it's kind of a hassle to have to operate each one separately to find those sources. Workona is a browser extension that will allow you to group all of those sources together in one place without needing to copy or paste. You can click the Workona extension in your browser to quickly add the tab you're currently on to a research project, or you can go to their website and manage and add a bunch all at once. You can organize your sources into various categories depending on what your project needs, and it integrates with Google Drive, allowing you to access folders, documents, and other files. The free version of Workona lets you have up to 5 active projects at once, and each one can have as many sources and links as you need. And if you're a content creator like me, then you get ideas quite frequently. If you sign up for the Pro version, you get an unlimited number of projects you can manage. Just look at all of these potential future video ideas I have here. Now, I have no idea when or if I'll get to any of these ideas, but I know when I do, I won't have to start from scratch. You can try out Workona for free, no card required, by clicking the top link in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Not only will you get this valuable tool that I use all of the time, but you'll also be supporting the channel. You won't regret it, you have nothing to lose, so go ahead and try out Workona. You'll really appreciate all the tools it has at your disposal. But without further ado, let's get back to the video. The last president I want to look at is Lyndon Johnson. Now, I have no memory of Johnson's legacy prior to 9/11. He wasn't talked about much in children's books. Similar to Woodrow Wilson, my earliest memories of Johnson is from the Bush years, and in particular the Iraq War. The comparisons between Johnson and Bush were often intertwined with conspiracy theories. Conspiracies about how Bush won the 2000 election were compared or tied to conspiracies about Johnson being involved in the assassination of JFK. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, which was the final justification for escalating the war in Vietnam, was compared to the Bush administration's claims of WMDs in Iraq, both of which were being described as actively and knowingly misleading the public. And then, of course, there were all the comparisons between fighting insurgencies and atrocities committed by American troops. So prior to Obama and the 2010s, the perception of Johnson was almost exclusively negative, which was amplified during the 2000s because the left needed to make Bush look bad. But similar to Grant, Johnson's reputation has been repaired thanks to the shift towards the race lens in the wake of 2008. You begin hearing Democrats and other members of the left talking about the Civil and Voting Rights Acts, as well as the need for a new Great Society, and this went into overtime due to the Trayvon Martin case as well as the riots in Ferguson. He and Grant were lumped in together as presidents who did good for the cause of racial equality, but ultimately fell short due to powers beyond their control. But what infuriates me to this day about this is that the same people who are suddenly now praising Johnson for his record on race and poverty had spent the previous decade decrying him as the worst president of the 20th century simply to make the current Republican president look bad. It's another instance of people twisting the past to meet their current political needs, and it's not a surprise. And we're nowhere near done doing this. Everyone does it, and it just shouldn't be surprising anymore. But when you live long enough to see it happen in your lifetime, it just feels a little different. Fact matter is, we human beings live in the present and not the past, which means we will use and abuse history for our current political needs. I, of course, want to give a big thanks to my patrons for helping make this video possible. You know, thanks to their support, I can spend more time working on videos rather than doing a normal job. But I want to talk to you guys about something a little, I'm not sure personal is the right word, but a bit of a career goal thing. So as of filming this, my channel has about 75,000 subscribers. And at the beginning of the year, I sort of set a goal for myself that I wanted this channel to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Well, as of right now, I'm about 3/4 of the way there, and there are 6 months left in the year. I really think we can get the channel to 100,000 subs by the end of the year, but I need all of your help. And of course, obviously, first and foremost, the best thing you can do is actually subscribing to the channel. Get that number up. But you can also help by getting the videos more promoted, and the best way to help a video get promoted is to engage with it. Watch it, click the like button, and leave a comment down below, and share it. This tells the algorithm that this video has high engagement and is therefore more likely to be enjoyed by other similar viewers. Now, I'm not just looking for these extra subs as vanity. I want to make more and better videos, and if I can get that subscriber count up, it'll be more likely that I'll be able to do that. And I'm not just gonna ask for it and then just rest on the laurels. I'm gonna continue working to make more and better videos for you guys to enjoy and learn from in the future, because that's what I really wanna do, and I think that's what you guys would like me to do. So, if you're not subscribed to this channel and you enjoyed this or any of my other videos, then click that subscribe button. Let's get the channel up to 100,000. We got 6 months. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.